Probably.
Thank you. All right, good morning, members of the jury. Welcome, and good morning. Everyone may be seated. All right, members of the jury, before we get started with today's portion of the trial, could you all please confirm and answer out loud that you follow the communication rules over the night's recess?
Yes.
Okay. To remind you where we are, Detective, I'm sorry, I keep saying detective, Agent Blythe was on the witness stand. I'm going to ask that he be called back to the stand. Good morning, Agent.
Good morning.
Since the night's recess we're into a new day, if you please raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Agent, do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. I do.
All right, this way. All right, Mr. Dreiser, you may proceed with cross-examination.
Thank you. Good morning, Agent Blythe. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. You?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking, and thank you for being here, okay?
Absolutely.
Yesterday, we had a little bit of an opportunity to get to know you and your background. And of course, you are an agent with the FBI, right?
Yes, sir.
And you have a pretty impressive academic background. You have a degree in, I think, business.
Yes, in accounting.
And then you have some experience in the real world and experience in law enforcement, combining all those skills, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think we can agree that well, let me say, the one thing you don't have, and I'm not knocking on you, but you're not an engineer, correct?
No, I'm not an engineer.
And you don't work for T-Mobile, correct?
No, I do not.
And a lot of what we're talking about is the engineering of cellular networks.
Yes.
Okay. So can we agree that the work that you do is important in cases like this?
Yes, very.
And can we agree that accuracy is important?
Yes.
And I don't know if you told the jury yesterday, but not only do you review these reports before they're submitted, you have a peer review. You have someone else look at the reports, right?
Yes, sir.
To make sure they're accurate, right?
Yes.
All right, let me just and I'm going to walk you through everything. I'm not going to cherry pick, but I want to show you slide 56. This is from March 5th between 9:12 and 9:50 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And yesterday you talked about the TA records associated with that, but if you look in the call box, those TA records seem to be from 2/17 of 2022, correct?
Yes, so there's a typographical mistake in the call-out box.
So that's a mistake that you made before you submitted this evidence to the government?
Yes.
And the peer review person, he didn't catch that either?
Apparently not.
And as you sit here today, is it a typographical error, or did you put the TA records from 2/17 inside of the PowerPoint?
I'm confident that it's a typo in the call-out box for the date. I didn't replace the date with March 5th. I apologize.
Okay. And while we're here, this is about a Pennsylvania trip that Mr. Fernandez took?
Yes.
Anybody ever tell you why it was important whether Mr. Fernandez went to Pennsylvania and came back?
I don't recall why that was important.
Important enough that you mapped it all and put it in your slides, right?
The investigative team thought that time frame was important to show the location of the target device, so I prepared a map as such.
Okay. Not your job to know or say why it's important, just map it if they tell you to.
So yeah, the investigative team it's their investigation. They're informing me about what times are pertinent that they needed to show movement or a location for the device, and so that's what I'm looking to as far as guidance about what time frames I look at.
simply put, you mapped that Mr. Fernandez went to Pennsylvania. Well, first he stopped in North Carolina, right?
Yes.
And are you aware that the jury has heard from a friend of his that he stopped at his house in North Carolina?
I am now.
You are now, because I told you?
Yes.
Okay. And on the same dates that you mapped, and then he, if I understand correctly, he went up to Pennsylvania, and I think your testimony, these are my words, but he sort of hauled ass back to Jacksonville.
He wasn't there a very long time and came back.
Came back pretty quick, right?
Sure. Some people move at different paces.
Yeah, but I mean, I think what you were saying to the jury yesterday was he was up in Pennsylvania, and then he kind of moved back relatively quickly, like he didn't have a lot of stops, right?
Yeah, there was a 3-hour stop, was the biggest, most notable stop during the way back that I recall.
But just so I'm clear, Jacksonville is where this homicide occurred, right?
Yes.
And he came back to Jackson.
Correct.
All right, let's start at, well, I want to show you, did you notice yesterday when you were going through your slides, and this is your, I think you did 5 drafts of these before you made a final?
At least.
At least 5 drafts, right? And every time you did a draft, you would provide it to the defense team through discovery, right?
So I provided it to the state, and they provided the discoveries to you.
Then they provided. So through the course of this investigation, every time you did a draft, we would have to do, at least you would think it's fair that we would do an analysis of your draft, right?
I would hope you'd review it.
And if we had an expert, which I think you know that we do,
Yes.
he would have to review it, correct?
Sure.
So I assume at some point in time during this trial, when the state gets up and asks questions to my expert about why we had to pay him so much money, would you agree that every time you did a draft, you would expect it's fair that he would review your draft, right?
If you ask him to, sure.
Sure. And it would be reasonable for us to ask him to review your drafts, right?
It's something that a layperson could easily misunderstand. So it's understandable you'd want to talk to somebody with knowledge of the profession.
Sure. And can we also agree that going back to you looking at these things and making sure that before it got submitted in evidence, it was up to speed? This is your final, correct?
It is.
Did you notice on about a third of the slides that are in evidence, they're still stamped draft?
A third?
Oh, let's go to page 21. See draft? Can you see that, Agent?
I do.
Go to page 22. See that?
Yes.
23? 24? I mean, I'll let the jury, it's in evidence, but significant portion of your final is still submitted draft. Is that another mistake that should have been taken out?
In preparing over the past month or two, I noticed some things that wanted to modify somewhat. Didn't change the conclusions or the overall locations or anything like that. But I had somebody take a second look at them after I made some changes, and I forgot to take the draft stamp off.
Okay. You go to January 5th, please. Start slide 8. This is January 5th. You would agree that this is at 10:56 to 11:51, and it shows that Mr. Fernandez is in the area of his house.
Yes, same geographic area.
Not unusual for a person to be in the same geographic area of their home, correct?
No.
This doesn't tell you anything about Henry Tenen or anything about Mr. Fernandez other than he may be home, right?
Correct.
Next slide. All right, now we jump hours later, right? This is like 5 hours later.
Yes, 5:24 p.m. is when this starts.
Okay, and this is Henry Tenen going to the area of Jack's Beach, correct?
Yes.
All right, so now you don't have any information as to where Mr. Fernandez is on January 5th, do you?
No, not during this time frame.
You have no idea whether Mr. Fernandez saw Mr. Tenen when he came near the Jack's Beach area, correct?
I don't have any independent knowledge of that.
Yeah, you have no communications between the two of them on January 5th, correct?
Not that I've been made privy to.
You can't tie Mr. Fernandez to Henry Tennant on January 5th in any way using technical data or records that you have obtained.
Not with these phone records, with cell site and Gmail records.
Okay? And most importantly, on this day, Henry Tennant goes in the area of Jack's Beach near the Pablo Hamlet area, the Fernandez residence, right?
Yes,
You need to see that, or you agree with me?
I recall that.
Okay. But do you recall that he doesn't go anywhere near the crime scene?
I think that not on this date and time, no.
That's what I'm asking you. On this date and time, January 5th, he doesn't go anywhere near the crime scene, right? And you do know, even though you're not, I guess you're part of the investigative team, but you're more the mapping guy, right?
Yes,
But you do know that there is a connection between Mr. Fernandez and Henry Tennant because Henry Tennant was his tenant at that time, right?
I've heard that at some point he was his tenant.
Sure. That's not like a secretive fact. And if I understand your slides, Mr. Tennant goes to the area of Jack's Beach, and you think that maybe, and can you go to the slide of the Marsh Inlet? He goes down, passes Pablo Hamlet, he passes Marsh Inlet, and he turns around and he comes back, correct?
Yes,
And if he is on the street, can you go to the one where it shows that he may be on?
Mr. Dreiser, if you would, just for record purposes, refer to what slide you're referring to.
I should have done that, I'm sorry. This all is composed of states 190, 182, and specifically, I'm asking Agent Blythe about page 12.
Thank you.
Page 12, this is where, different than many of your other slides, you don't have any confidence level on any of these slides.
no, not on these four.
This entire slide, which is the one that zoomed in the most, has no confidence on any one of Henry Tennant's factors, correct?
No,
But nonetheless, you decided to map that you think, without any confidence, that Mr. Tennant may have gone on the street of the Fernandez residence, correct?
that was the recorded location. And throughout the duration of the analysis, I was able to see that these locations, with or without a known source, followed in line, stayed along roadways. They weren't errant off in the middle of nowhere or a place where there was no roadway or a place where a person and a phone could be. So looking at them in their totality, they all seem to be very reliable locations.
And even if you're right, which you may be, he's on the street for what, 30 seconds at max? I mean, if you're exactly correct, and your totality of the circumstances all added up, you can't put him on that street for more than 30 seconds.
Correct.
So, and you have no reason to believe that Mr. Fernandez was home.
I don't know.
You have no idea, right?
No.
And you don't know if Mr. Tennant was dropping off rent money in the mailbox.
I don't know that.
You don't know if Mr. Tennant was scouting the area because he planned to kill Jared Bridegan. You don't know that.
No.
You just know that he's in the area. And the one thing we do know is that the Marsh Inlet and the area of interest does have evidentiary value in this case, correct? That area has interest, right?
Sure.
Mario, and we're going to talk a little bit about this, Mario Fernandez's home is close to Marsh Inlet, correct?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I did not say that correctly. Mario Fernandez's home is close to Pablo Hamlet, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it's so close that it's hard to make any sort of data location because it's so close. It goes within the area of the bands that make it to where the technology just isn't that precise, correct?
That's fair.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. Let's keep going. Let's go to the next day. And that would be January 25th, correct?
Yes.
And on January 25th, I mean, this has so much data on it, but let's just break it down so simple so the jury knows what they're looking at. You believe on January 25th that Mario Fernandez went over to John Biggerstaff's house.
His phone moved to that area, used the tower closest to his house, and had a calculated distance, roughly the same distance from the tower as the house was, which is consistent with him being at the residence.
It's a great point. You don't track people, do you?
Well,
You
phones
track
don't
devices.
move themselves, but people have their phones. Research shows that we keep our phones within arm's reach the vast majority of the day. But yes, technically I'm tracking phones.
So Mr. Hill, in his opening statement, told the jury just that. He said that studies show that people keep their cellular devices within arm's reach. That's what you guys rely on, correct?
Yes, that's how we find people all the time.
Exactly. I don't want to jump the gun, but on the 29th, you don't have Mr. Fernandez's device anywhere except for the Potomac address, correct?
That area, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he goes from his house to Potomac, but the phone never leaves Potomac, correct?
On the 29th?
Right.
Correct.
So by the studies and by what you're aware of and everything you're trained on and how you locate bodies and guns and all the things that you say that you've been so successful doing, it's because people are generally within arm's length of their devices, correct?
Usually, but sometimes people intentionally leave their devices behind in cases. Sometimes.
They do. And that's when you have to use what you said yesterday, which is other investigative efforts when you're doing historical cell site analysis to see if you can confirm whether people have done that, correct?
If you can.
All right, we'll get there. But on this day, Mr. Fernandez goes to what is known as an old friend of his, correct? You know that
Bigger
he knows-
staff?
Yeah,
My understanding is they are associates of some kind.
yeah, they've known each other for a long time,
Okay.
okay? And on that day, you know that Mr. Fernandez called Mr. Biggerstaff on his way over there. Because in all that data, it actually shows a call from Mr. Fernandez to Mr. Biggerstaff, right?
Yes.
Before he gets there. Like, hey, I'm on my way, right? You don't know what it said, but that's not far-fetched that someone would call and say, I'm on the way to your home, correct?
No.
And then right when he gets to the house, there's a message or a call saying, well, you don't know what it says, but it's right when he gets there, not far-fetched to be like, hey, I'm here, man, right?
Yeah, I don't know why he called him, but
Okay.
could be.
All right, so he's there for like an hour or so, and then he leaves, right?
I don't remember how long he's there. I think it might be the next slide. Yes.
All right. This is slide 16, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And you don't know why he was there?
No.
You have no evidence what he was doing there?
No, sir.
Someone just asked you to map whether Mario Fernandez was going to a guy's house that he knows for a long time. He left. That's what you know. That's what all of this information tells you, correct?
Yes.
All right. Let's go to January 29th. Okay, on this date, we're on slide 19. I want to talk about some ground information that I'm not sure that you said yesterday. Anytime the location of interest or the address of Potomac or anything on these slides, anytime, would you agree that your testimony, a golden rule, is it can never be farther than the bands?
Very rarely, and if it is, we're talking less than 2% of the time, it's usually explainable because, for example, if you had a huge building like this courthouse and the antennas for the cell site are on different corners of this rooftop, it's huge. So if the latitude, longitude for the tower is dead center in the middle of the building, the antennas are on different corners of the building, that timing advance band could look a little farther away than it really is, or closer, depending on that layout. So usually you can reconcile that if you actually find a phone outside of the band that was displayed. So
maybe not a golden rule, but a pretty good rule of thumb that
Yeah.
it's never outside the bands, correct?
yeah, it's very rare.
But on the inverse, when there's one band, it can be one or two bands inside.
Yes, that's possible.
Of course, that's not only possible, you know that to be the case, right?
Yes.
If I say that the Mario Fernandez residence is right on the border of a band in some of these slides,
Yes.
You'll agree with me every single time that it's in the parameter of 1 or 2 bands, so it's in the timing advance bands.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that I'm not so sure was clear yesterday, in these pink bands, and let's use slide 19 as an example, anytime you may have a dot inside the pink band, but you have no idea where in the pink band the device is.
So are we talking about these dots are from Henry 10 and 53. These aren't timing advance estimated locations.
Glad you pointed that out. I want the jury to be very clear. I'm not talking, and I didn't say this, so thank you. For these golden rules and concepts I'm trying to iron out, I'm not talking about the GPS stuff. That's different than timing advance, right?
Right. These are 2 different people's devices on this slide.
And 2 different technologies, right?
Yes.
So because you don't have any GPS for Mr. Fernandez, let me make it clear. When Mr. Fernandez's devices are in any of these pink bands, you have no idea where in the pink band it is.
Yeah, so when Mr. Tennant's device is inside that band, it doesn't, if just because it's inside the same band where Mario Fernandez's phone is, that they could be together, they may not be together. It's potential co-location. Is that what you're asking me?
I really wasn't. I'm not asking you anything about Mr. Tennant at the moment. I'm asking you for Mr. Fernandez. In all of these records, you're using TA analysis because you don't have GPS for Mr. Fernandez, correct?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to do is just get some global ground rules so the jury understands this. That device can be anywhere in a pink band, like at the very, very bottom of slide 19, or where the pink bands end, or the very, very top. You don't know. The technology isn't that good.
Yes, in isolation, the phone could be anywhere in that band, from one side of the sector to the other, to answer your question. However, if you have an intersecting timing advance, that's not the case here. But when you do, if it's close in time, you would look at that area of intersection to narrow that area.
For example, in this one, most of the slides, it could be anywhere in the pink band.
Yes.
Right. And the other thing that I want to make sure is crystal clear, that if Mr. Fernandez's device is in his pocket, okay, and Mr. Fernandez is in his driveway and he's sweeping, you have no idea the movement of the device within the pink bands, correct?
No.
If Mr. Fernandez he walks from the kitchen to the end of the driveway to throw a bucket of water out, you cannot this technology doesn't work like that, correct?
Yes, no, it doesn't. It's not that precise. It's good enough to help us find people many times, but it's those bands are 78 meters wide. So that's the confidence of it.
So when you're showing all this information from January 29th and it's just like TA, it's not like you know that the device is stationary and not moving. You can't tell that.
So when maybe I say stationary, it's staying in the same area, defined area that we can define by those bands. It doesn't necessarily mean it's sitting still, perfectly still on one exact location.
That's exactly what I'm asking you. Can't do that, right?
Right.
Now, we'll get to some precise stuff in a question. The other thing that I just don't think I heard this word come out of your mouth one time yesterday, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Did you ever say the words Wi-Fi yesterday?
Yes.
You did? Okay, thank you. There's a caveat when there's Wi-Fi.
What do you mean?
Meaning that if a phone is connected to Wi-Fi, then there can be calls and texts that this wouldn't catch.
So the calls generally make their way to the call detail records if they're over Wi-Fi, but if a phone can also use data over Wi-Fi, and that could carry the data sessions rather than the cellular network.
Right, so it's possible that a person could be making calls or text messages or doing video gaming, and you wouldn't have a record of it if they're connected to Wi-Fi.
So the data sessions would therefore be carried by the Wi-Fi, the internet service provider,
Sure.
And it wouldn't show data throughput with the cellular network. If they made calls or received calls, those would make their way to the records.
They may make their way to the records. They don't always make their way to the records.
Usually do, but it's possible.
It's possible that they don't, right?
Sure.
Okay. And you know, and we don't have to guess, even though we have photos, I'll show you in a second, that there is Wi-Fi at the Potomac address.
Maybe there is. I'm sure most people have home-based Wi-Fi.
Well, we don't have to say maybe, because you did the tracking of Henry Tennant's devices, and the data that you used at 2 o'clock for the geolocation of Mr. Tennant, and if you need your records to look, I'll be glad to, you used Wi-Fi. That was the source of the GPS at 2 o'clock.
I guess all I'm saying is I don't know if it connected to Mario Fernandez's Wi-Fi, but there's enough Wi-Fi access points around there that the phone was able to generate a Wi-Fi based location.
All right, let me pause you for a moment. Members of the jury, I need you to go into the jury room, please. Agent Blythe, I'm going to ask you step outside the courtroom. Everyone may be seated.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Fernandez needs to go in the back. I need Ms. Bridegan to step up, Mr. Clifton to step up, and get Kirsten Nelson on the phone. On Zoom, switch over. If the state would clear the way so they can have a seat. Do you want to call your appellate counsel? They can join via Zoom. Ms. Bridegan, you can sit down. It's okay. Print a copy of the order of compliance. Okay, thank you.
Okay. If you go into Zoom and put in that number, it should come up. That's the meeting number. Okay, appreciate it.
Are the attorneys from the Gardner firm on Zoom?
Good morning, Your Honor. Kirsten Nelson on behalf of Ms. Gardner. I believe Jose Baez and Ron Sullivan are also present.
All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Good morning. Is Mr. who's represent? Sam Solario?
Sam, if you can hear us, could you just announce your presence?
I can hear you fine. I'm not visible because I'm unsuitably attired for court, Your Honor, and I
Yes.
didn't want to appear poorly.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, Mr. Clifton, for purposes of this hearing, I received, while I'm in the middle of the trial of the state of Florida versus Mario Fernandez Saldana, I received an email indicating that Ms. Bridegan is refusing to comply with the court order. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And then Ms. Nelson is the person that notified the court. So, Ms. Nelson, I'll hear from you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I also apologize. I am not suitably attired for court, so I will keep my camera off. We are moving for a motion, or our motion is for an order to show cause why Ms. Bridegan should not be held in contempt for failure to comply with the court's August 11th order, as well as the order this morning and the order yesterday.
Ms. Nelson, do you agree that it would be indirect contempt of court?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Clifton, do you understand the nature of the motion for an order to show cause?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So it is basically noncompliance with the court's order that was entered in on August 11th. And for the record, the court had a hearing that was requested based on the subpoenas that were issued pursuant to a prior order. The court heard the objection of the party, the non-party. I then, after that hearing and after consideration of the side that was presented during the objection, the court overruled the objection and issued an order of compliance because it was not being complied with. That is the prior order. Then this morning at approximately 7:19, this court got notice that Ms. Bridegan wanted, well, counsel filed a petition for all writs. The 5th District Court of Appeal has docketed now the appellate process, which is the appropriate way to go if there is disagreement with the court's decision. In the trial court, I believe it was you, Mr. Clifton, that filed the motion to stay this morning. It was approximately, I think, about 8:15 or 8:20,
About
maybe.
20 p.m. last night, Your Honor, but
It was 10:20. I didn't get notice of it until early this morning. Then defense counsel filed a response. The court then issued another order denying the stay and denied it within, I believe it was about 8:30ish, giving Ms. Bridegan 30 minutes to comply with the court's order. Additionally, in the prior hearing, in the prior order, the defense has gone through the expense of asking and paying for an expert to come up to take possession of the phone to comply with the court's order and then return the phone to Ms. Bridegan in short order so that she could have her phone basically selectively downloaded and then returned to her so that there would be as little time away from her phone as possible. And so that is what is not being complied with. Do you believe that this is sufficient notice, or I can write the order to show cause? I'm going to grant the order to show cause, and I can write down date and time. Pursuant to the rule, I believe that you are entitled to reasonable time to prepare a defense for Ms. Bridegan.
We would want reasonable time to prepare a defense.
All right, and I hope that this is not to wait out whether the 5th District Court of Appeal is somehow going to stay. But I will give you, right now, I stopped the trial at exactly 9:30. What do you believe reasonable time would be, Mr. Clifton, for you to be prepared for the defense of an order to show cause for noncompliance, which is indirect criminal contempt of this court?
Your Honor, looking to do this today?
Yes. Because the expert drove up today, and so I don't.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay.
2 hours?
Can we?
And we have a lunch coming up at some point. 12:30?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will, if you require, I will. I will have something written up and filed for you to answer to. If I can get it probably by 10:15, and then I would have the hearing, I would say, at 12:30. Is that reasonable?
Yes, ma'am. That would help.
Yes, sir. All right. And whatever counsel, if you all could get in, do you want Ms. Gardner transported?
No, Your Honor, we'll waive her presence. Thank you.
All right. I will see you all again at 12:30 for this hearing, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It goes without being said, Ms. Bridegan, you need to be present again, okay? Go get the jury to get back ready as soon as.
transcripts. Can someone read back to me the last question I asked? I'll pay you.
Can you have a read back, please? Hold the jury.
Thank you, Madam Court Reporter. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. They can come in if they're ready.
Your Honor, the jurors are in the courtroom.
Thank you. All right, welcome back in. Members of the jury, everyone may be seated. Mr. Dreiser, if I could just interrupt you for a couple more seconds. Members of the jury, I want to apologize for the interruption. I want to make sure that you all understand that the interruption has nothing to do with either the state or the defendant in this case. Instead, I had an emergency issue that I needed to resolve prior to you all continuing because it's time sensitive. And so I apologize for any interruption. I believe that we're back on track. So if you thought anything, you should disregard anything. It was my issue, not the attorney's. Does everyone understand that? If you could answer out loud. Yes. Perfect. Let's go.
All right, we're back.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks for being here. We're now on January 29th. That's a day that the government asked you to map, and you did that, right?
Yes.
Now, did you talk yesterday about the fact that you do sometimes, in other cases, review surveillance in conjunction with cellular data so you can form a better expert opinion, right?
Yes.
You did not do that in this case.
I'm generally, unless it's my own case or an FBI case on my squad, I'm not part of the investigative team, and so I'm not out doing video canvases. So any video surveillance that would be provided to me to use in conjunction with this would be dependent on the investigative team. If it was available for them to find it, get it provided.
I still have permission to walk around?
Yes.
I took the liberty without asking. Thank you. Well, just for example, they did provide you information that they thought was important, and I'm reviewing States 210. This is the vehicle, the license plate readers. Do you remember? Here, I can just put it down. Remember looking at that yesterday, Agent?
Yes, I do.
You didn't pull that information, correct?
No,
The investigative team gave that to you, correct?
they did.
And that was to help you, in your expert opinion, make conclusions as to where Henry Tenon may be located, correct?
See if that lines up or not with those locations, yes.
And it did.
Uh,
I mean, it
yes.
had some evidentiary value that a vehicle registered Henry Tenon's father was near the location of where Henry Tenon's cell phone was via its GPS, correct?
Correct.
So that's exactly what we're talking about. The ability to try to confirm otherwise, which is numbers and data on pieces of paper that you received from T-Mobile, right?
So I use it as a technique. I call it layering. So if I can get more data sets, more locations, I'll use them.
Perfect. And I asked you in this case, did you review any surveillance as a part of your layering technique that you just described to the jury?
No, I don't think there was any other surveillance that I can recall provided to use in conjunction besides the license plate readers.
Would it help assist you in your expert opinion to know, and the jury has already painstakingly watched hours of compiled surveillance that law enforcement did, not at this time, but at the Potomac address? Meaning, would it help you in your expert opinion to know that Mario Fernandez frequents the Potomac address regularly?
I don't, I obviously can see when his phone was in that area from the records I reviewed. I haven't reviewed the poll camera or whatever kind of camera surveillance was in that area.
Let's try to do this together. This day, you have Mr. Fernandez's device at the Potomac address for a couple hours, give or take.
Yes.
In evidence is hours and hours of Mr. Fernandez at the Potomac address. Does that help you say that this data is consistent with Mr. Fernandez going to the Potomac address as seen in the surveillance that's been admitted into evidence?
Yes, that would be one more indication. If you see the vehicle or him on camera, that shows that, might show that he moved there with his phone.
Consistent with the day that you mapped, right?
Yeah, if there's camera footage showing him there, it's consistent with this map.
That's all I was asking. Now, this is where on slide 19, Mr. Fernandez is moving from the Jacks Beach area to his rental property on January 29th. That's what this slide shows, correct?
I don't know if that's his rental property or not. I know that address is associated with Mr. Tennant.
No one told you that Mr. Fernandez owned that place?
No.
This is the first that you're learning of that?
I don't remember that. Again, I'm not part of the investigative team. I'm there for phone-based location information to try to show where devices are around these circumstances.
Well, let's talk about it. You're the expert in this case, or one of them. Let's make sure you understand, because I think it could be important. Mr. Tennant is alleged to have killed Jared Bridegan. You know that, right?
Yes.
So when you put, because someone told you to, on your legend, Tennant address, 5239 Potomac Avenue, someone told you to put that?
It told me that that's the residence attributed to Mr. Tennant. They did, they're able to somehow verify that that is his address.
It's interesting because what's also in evidence is a lease agreement that Mr. Fernandez leased the property to Jeremy Ordway on January 27th of 2022. Did you know that?
No.
Would you like to see that, or you take my word for it?
I'll take your word for it if that's in evidence.
Okay. And you would agree with me that this is 2 days after the lease agreement was signed, correct?
It is.
So you don't know why that law enforcement told you to put the murderer's name on this slide and not two different things. One, that it's Mr. Fernandez's actually owned property. I know you're learning that for the first time today, but would you take my word for it that he owns it? Or would you like to see the records and evidence that he owns it?
If that's in evidence, I can take your word for it.
It is. And secondarily, as the landlord of the property, he had already rented it to a different individual by the 29th of January. And you took my word for that fact already, correct?
Again, I don't have any independent knowledge of that. If that's in evidence, so be it.
But nonetheless, whoever told you to make this slide decided it was best to put the Tennant residence when you have taken my word for two facts that make this not the Tennant residence, correct?
I don't know all those factors, if Mr. Tennant still had access to it, or what the dynamic there was. So the investigative team felt that it was a residence attributed to Mr. Tennant, and I took their word for that.
Sure enough. Because that's all you can do is plug in the data that someone gives you, right?
It's more than that, but.
Okay. Let's talk about the movement of Mr. Fernandez's phone. You know that at 2 o'clock on 129, still looking at page 19 of your slides, at 2 o'clock and 5 seconds, Mr. Fernandez is not at Potomac, correct?
What time?
2 o'clock and 5 seconds p.m.
Not yet.
All right. Can you show the jury so my question's more clear. When I say that he could be anywhere in the band, using that band as an example, can you show the jury where he could be?
Yeah, so this event, this phone could be anywhere in this shaded area of this band.
Mr. Dreiser.
I'm going to ask would you help me change the color? Is that what you were going to ask, Judge? I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I figured I knew what was coming.
And I say just...
Wait a second.
Sorry.
It's red right now, and you can't see
blue?
it.
See what blue looks like. Can you try doing that again?
Sure.
There we go. I like that.
And just to clarify, when you show movement of a device and you see these timing advanced bands, yes, in isolation, the phone could be anywhere in the shaded area of that band, but if, a phone is moving in a vehicle, the phone's going to be on a roadway. So you're going to look to where the roadways are as part of that overall route in that movement to see where that phone would have been during that time.
I agree with you.
Just to clarify.
There's one road and a swamp on both sides. It's likely on the road, right?
Yes.
People can't drive through a swamp. I think we all get that.
Right.
In this case, there's a lot of roads though, right?
There are several, yes.
You don't know what road he's on, right?
Not exactly, no.
So he could be pretty much anywhere in the band as long as it's not somewhere off the road.
I mean, based on the timing, I think it's most likely somewhere along Old Kings Road or an adjacent road, but there are several roads around there.
Okay? But we agree, under no circumstances, according to your expert opinion, is he at Potomac.
At 2:02, the phone is
I'm asking you very specifically.
on its way.
At 2 o'clock and 5 seconds, he is not at Potomac.
I don't think so yet, no.
Okay? At 2 o'clock and 12 seconds, using the geolocation call-out number, Henry Tenen appears to be at or very close to the Potomac address.
Yes.
And that's a confidence meters of 56 meters, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if you drew the radius. That is an unknown source, though. And I thought we talked that you don't like to use unknown sources. Do you agree that's an unknown source, Agent Blythe? Mr. Kennedy's 2 o'clock?
I don't recall that being an unknown source, but again, I looked at these locations in their totality. The reason I didn't show the radius for the other unknown sources that was so low because they were less than 3 meters, which is unlikely a device could get a location with less than 3 meters, even with GPS. And so, 56 meters is a lot more conservative and reasonable than 1 or 2 meters.
Okay. Nonetheless, 56 meters, approximately 160 feet, somewhere around the Potomac address is what you think.
Yes.
At 2 o'clock and 12 seconds. Right?
Right.
Now, at 2:06 and 53 seconds, Mr. Tenen is definitely not in the area of the Potomac address, correct?
No, he's moved to the area of Old Kings Road and Edgewood.
Yep. And we know he's on the move because he hits another tower at 2:08, and then he has geolocation at 2:10. So bear with me. We know that Mr. Tenen is on the move, 2 o'clock, 2:06, 2:08, and 2:10, moving away from the Potomac address.
Yes.
And we know that Mr. Fernandez at 2 o'clock is not there, and then he moves closer to the Potomac address somewhere around 2:02 and 25 seconds, correct?
Yes.
You said yesterday that they could have been there for a short period of time together, right?
Potentially.
But potentially they were not there at the same time together, correct?
I'm sorry?
Potentially they were not there at the same time together.
So sometime between 2 o'clock and 2:06. I don't know when. Mr. Tennant's phone began moving from the residence towards Old Kings Road. So I don't know exactly when during that 6 minutes and some change that his phone left. It looks like it would probably take, a little bit of time to get that distance. I don't know the exact drive time, but they're very close to overlapping. So I don't know for sure that based on this data, that they were together, but they could have been.
And I really thought my question was really simple. I know you think they could have been. I'm asking you, they may not have been. And you gave a very long answer, but you agree with me that you can't say that they were together at that time period at Potomac, correct?
Correct.
And while you track devices and the studies show that people are within arm's length of their devices, can you tell me one time while Mr. Tennant is away from Potomac that you can put Mario Fernandez with Henry Tennant?
Based on this data, no.
Okay? And based on the data, not a shred of evidence that Mr. Fernandez was with Mr. Tennant during that time period, correct?
There's no location in data, during this time when Mr. Tennant's devices leave and then come back, that I can show that on the 29th.
And there's not a shred of surveillance that has ever been provided to you that puts Mr. Fernandez with Mr. Tennant, correct?
I'm not aware of it, no.
You're not aware of any receipts or financial transactions that put Mr. Fernandez outside of the Potomac area during that time period, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
You're not aware of a single eyewitness that puts Mr. Fernandez outside of the Potomac address or area at the time that Mr. Tennant is gone, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
And you don't know whether Mr. Fernandez may have connected to the Wi-Fi at the residence in which he owns, correct?
Could you repeat the last
You
part?
don't know if when Mr. Fernandez arrives at Potomac, he connects to the Wi-Fi there.
I don't.
And of course, if he was there and there were data sessions, it wouldn't be picked up on these TA records, correct?
If he's using cellular or using Wi-Fi based data instead of cellular data if and when he connected to that Wi-Fi, I don't know if he did. You can't tell that based on the cellular records.
Exactly. And it's not uncommon for people to connect to Wi-Fi to places that they routinely go, correct?
It's not uncommon.
Thank you. You have a bunch of slides that reflect that Mr. Tennant went near the crime scene during that time period on January 29th, correct?
Yes.
In fact, you even have a zoomed in slide. Can you find it for me, please? January 29th, where he's near. Like right here, right there. The long red line, there we go. We're looking at slide 26. This shows that you believe Mr. Tennant's device, and by extension of the studies, Mr. Tennant went to the crime scene on that day, correct?
Yes.
You have no evidence whatsoever that he went anywhere near Marsh Inlet, Mr. Fernandez's residence on that day, do you?
I don't think so, no.
February 15th? On February 15th, you have reason to believe, using the data, that Mr. Fernandez may have gone to his rental property in the morning?
Yes, the Potomac Avenue address, yes.
Okay. Mr. Tennant wasn't there?
During this time frame, his device is over where it's indicated with the 9 events here.
We're looking at slide 34.
Correct.
Easy answer is Mr. Tennant's not there, correct?
His device is not there.
His device isn't there. Thank you. And did you know that the area that it is in is Modison Pallets, where Mr. Tennant worked? Did anybody tell you that?
No.
This would be an example where Mr. Fernandez is at the rental property and Mr. Tennant is not at the rental property, correct?
In this instance, no, correct.
Yeah. Just like on the 29th, right?
On the 29th, when, you're just talking about Mr. Tennant's device is leaving?
Exactly.
Yeah. Mr. Fernandez's device remains in the area of that residence.
Similar fact, right?
Yes.
Now let's go to later in the afternoon. And again, in your layering concept that you told me about, would it be important to know that in the surveillance that this jury has already seen, that Mr. Fernandez oftentimes goes to the Potomac address more than one time in a single day? Would that help in your layering?
Not really. I mean, it shows a pattern of life, right? That may be good for an investigator to know. But for me, I'm looking at finite periods of time, showing where the devices are and where they move as best as I can.
But you would agree with me, it gives the jury some perspective that he goes there more than one time in a single day, consistent with what you mapped, right?
I don't know that it pertains to my mapping. It's you can make whatever arguments you see fit.
Thank you, sir. I'll do that. And then later in the day, he goes back to the address for a short period of time, correct? Mr. Fernandez goes back to the Potomac address.
Yes.
Slide 35, Your Honor. But now, would you tell the jury, this time you believe the data shows that Mr. Fernandez gets to the rental property that he owns and Mr. Tennant is there, correct?
So between 4 and 4:29:25, Mr. Tennant's device is there.
I know, but let's break that down.
Okay.
Mr. Tennant leaves the property, doesn't he?
He does.
And he leaves before Mr. Fernandez leaves the property, correct?
Before his device does, yes.
Before his device does. Another example of when Mr. Fernandez is at the Potomac address and Mr. Tennant is not at the Potomac address, correct?
I would replace their names with their phones, but yes.
You would, the devices, because you maintain people are with their devices, right?
Usually, but
Okay.
we talked about this earlier, yes.
Yeah, all right. On the evening, moving to the 16th, which is the day of the homicide, let's go around slide 39. Okay. There's a lot of data on these slides. Would you agree at some point in time, and this is real talk, simple, I'm not trying to confuse it, it looks and it appears that Mr. Fernandez left his residence in the early afternoon or late, the early evening, around 5 o'clock. He travels west on Beach Boulevard. He turns around, he travels east on Beach Boulevard and drives home. Would you agree that that's pretty consistent with all of the slides from that time period?
That's a good way to put it.
I'm sorry?
That's a good way to put it.
Thank you. And now, again, no one's ever provided you any evidence that Mr. Fernandez left his home on the evening of the homicide, correct?
Left his home at what time frame? On the 16th?
Yeah, during the homicide. After he gets back from the Beach Boulevard, he goes west, then he goes east, he comes home. You have no surveillance that puts him outside of his home.
No.
You have no eyewitnesses that put him outside of his home.
No, not to my knowledge.
So you talk about TA records and that there could be a gap in the TA records and that it could be that his phone was off during the time of the homicide. That's what you told the jury yesterday.
It's possible.
It's possible. You also told the jury that these are all just snapshots in time, correct?
They are.
You also know, and I'm going to use your words, there can be blocks of time where network engineers just don't record timing advance for a particular market area.
That's true.
And you also know that when you got all the records that you've used to compile this data, it came with a warning, correct?
Yes.
If I just may have a moment, Your Honor, I got to switch gears. I don't have the highlighted one from open. You can publish it. This is the warning that you received from T-Mobile?
It's a note on interpreting timing advance records. Yes, I've seen it or read it.
Would you read the first paragraph to the jury, please?
Your response includes timing advance records. TA records are not call records. TA records are specialized historical location records. They are based on tower registrations and are not dependent on a voice call, text message, or data session. TA records are stored by market as defined by T-Mobile Engineering. TA records are retained for 0 to 90 days. Retention varies by market. Timing advance data may not be available in every market, portion of a market, or for every IMSI, which is an account-specific number for a user on their network. And even if call records are found, there may be times when no timing advance records are available. Please exercise caution in using these records for investigative or prosecutorial purposes.
You are, in fact, using these for prosecutorial purposes.
Absolutely. And what they mean there is you need to know,
didn't
understand them, and they're gracious enough to come and provide training directly from their network engineers